After reading over 50 books in 2024, here are the best 3 that I read. And I just really love this series because it's a great depiction of what race looks like in the US. Reading has made my heart more full. Hey folks, I'm Vin. I use they, them, theirs pronouns, and this is the Venn diagram, which is dedicated to the intersection of my life experiences, primarily doing self-development and harmonizing emotional intelligence with ambition. Before I get into it, will you be willing to subscribe? Book 1 is Storyworthy by Matthew Dix. Matthew Dix is my favorite storyteller, and this book is basically a how-to guide on how to tell better stories, and I actually have a deep dive video on this particular book. This book is really a really simple acknowledgement that your life, your stories, they're already story-worthy. It doesn't have to be exciting to be reflected on and for you to learn something from it. That is what makes it story-worthy. He writes, "Storytelling is not about a roller coaster ride. It's about bridging the gap between you and another person by creating a space of authenticity, vulnerability, and universal truth. Stories are about making your experiences relatable to another person." Because like I said, it's not about the big stories and big moments in your life. It's about like the small day-to-day failures and nuances that everyone can relate to. Storytellers seek to constantly make meaning from their lives. We contextualize events, find satisfying endings to periods of our lives, and struggle to explain how our lives make sense and fit into a larger story. For me, in this period of my life, I'm trying to make content out of the things that I learn and read and make it as simple as possible for people to understand. I also want to ensure that people feel seen by just existing as a queer, trans person of color who is also an immigrant, though that is not like the content that I'm making. Because if we're being honest, most of the content productivity people on YouTube are white men. So I really hope to continue to make content that is useful for folks. So don't forget to, again, subscribe and hit like, as well as provide me a comment of what you want me to make a video about next. I would also just love to see you recommend one of these books to a friend of yours to let them know you're thinking of them. And I do have a couple of videos that I did on how to maintain, make, and create an inner circle of your friends. Every year, I pick a memoir that just stands out to me, and this year it's Horse Barbie by Geena, Rocero. I absolutely adore this story, which is about a trans Filipino woman, and as a queer and trans person myself, I just love seeing this representation. A lot of trans people do not come out as trans, and they mask, as in they pretend that they have always been the gender that they appear to be. And so Geena's not unique in this way, but she does share that experience of herself. What is unique about her story is that she was not out in the United States in her modeling career for a really long time until this TED Talk, but she was out to the Philippines and her native country and all of the drag pageants that she participated in there, because you're actually not allowed to change your gender marker in the Philippines. But in the US and in certain states like California, you can change both. And so this book is really about how her life was split, where she was always thinking about who she really was and who she presented to other people, until she reached a point in which she could not just hold that in anymore. Within my family unit in particular, I was born with a different name, and I've told my family that, and they have been pretty supportive and understanding of it. What I haven't gotten to explaining to them, and maybe some of them watched my videos, is that I'm non-binary. I do not identify as a man or a woman. And I just haven't gotten to that part of like coming out, because it's kind of a constant journey to come out. You don't just get to come out once. Every time I have to explain my pronouns and my name and what body parts I have, which sometimes does happen, I have to like figure out a new way to come out. I don't know how loud that beeping is gonna be. Okay, cool. But seeing Geena go through her story and her whole life journey was really empowering, because I know at least one person has done it within the Filipino community. And so it just gives me a little bit of encouragement for when I do decide to have that conversation officially with my family. And, you know, like, my friends understand and they've been very supportive. But family's different. Family is of a different country and culture. You know, they didn't grow up in Southern California and have all of these liberal values like assumed as a natural part of our day-to-day experience. I also just really love this quote from the end of the book. Writing the story has been a kind of therapy. At each juncture of my life, part of me wanted to erase what came before so I could survive my new surroundings. But when I went back and chronicled all of it, start to finish, I realized I wanted to keep every word. Thank you, Geena Rocero, for sharing your story. All right, so my almost last book in this list, and I say almost because I have a bonus book. I just couldn't not have like more than 3 books. It's fine, whatever. This last one is called Daytripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. Really beautiful graphic novel. And I'm not super big on buying books. A lot of people gift books to me because they know I read, but I'm actually a big fan of using my iPad or my phone as a like e-reader, ebook thing, just because it's more transportable than a book. And my iPad I actually only use for reading, which is, you know, a privilege that I get to have like a tool that is only for that. I've tried to thrift Kindles. I don't want to buy a Kindle because of Amazon. The Wi-Fi is just always like not great. And I know an iPad's battery is not the best compared to a Kindle, but the Wi-Fi is gonna last a lot longer because the tech is better. Anyway, this book is Daytripper. So this is my favorite graphic novel that I read so far in the last few years, and among all the books that I've read in the last few years, it's among my top 10 for sure. It's a story about a main character, forget his name, oh my god, but it's basically just chronicling his life. And every chapter is a reimagination of when he could have died. So one chapter is him dying at 30, another one is him dying as a 7-year-old. And it's just such an interesting thing to look at, the many potentialities of how your life could end and also go, the different people you would have been with versus the people you would have never met. And it's really, really well done. This book is a reflection on the fleetingness of life, an assessment of what really matters to you, and that ultimately life goes on. And I love this quote. Dreams are what get you through the world. Our dreams are offerings to the world too. Okay, I have a bonus book, which is Top Story by Kelly Yang. And the only reason that I couldn't put it in my top 3 is because it's a children's book, so it's not really for me, but it's also for me because it's like an Asian kid who becomes like a journalist in their like 12-year-old status, and it's just a really awesome series. And one of the reasons I wanted to put it on this list is because it's on a banned book list in the United States, talking about like racism, identity, and like things like immigration. So, you know, I needed to give it a shout out, and I read this whole series by Kelly Yang. Amazing. So it's about Mia, who is a Chinese American 12-year-old, a daughter of immigrant parents, and ultimately it's about her community. So for this book in particular, which is the last one of the series, she's an intern at a newspaper in San Francisco. So she gets to go up to San Francisco from Los Angeles and participate in this internship program. So she's been a journalist and a writer for her school newspaper for the last few years. And so she's super stoked to be able to go to this opportunity. But she's really disappointed when she gets there because she sees issues of race and, you know, also nepotism within the actual internship program. And so she has to advocate for herself, which is a big theme in the other books, for like being a woman, being Chinese, and being able to take up space. And I love that because this is catered to like young kids who, you know, need to see themselves in a story actually taking action, speaking up for themselves and their identities. And I just really love this series because it's a great depiction of what race looks like in the US and what difference looks like whenever you move or like travel somewhere. And really it provides such a good dialogue of how children, preteens come into the world and can have dialogue about these important topics that they're inevitably gonna face. So those were my top 3 books of 2024, 3-ish. And I just want y'all to know that my heart is so full being a long-time reader for the last few years. Something that I really didn't expect is to be able to read this many books. Reading has made my heart more full. I feel so much more in tune with other people's perspectives because I'm constantly reading from a different author every single day. And even the bad books that you read give you intel for the next book that you'll want to read. They're all just data points, which really doesn't make it that different from like dating or making new friends. I wish you well in 2025, and I hope you spend the rest of 2024 taking care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.